Yay. Um, let's just start by having you introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. What do you need me to
You
say?
can even just be like, I'm Sarah and I'm like what you do and where you live, like something like that.
Okay. I'm Sarah. I live in Chicago in Bucktown, and I right now work in marketing, but am transferring to digital customer experience. Oh,
And
at McDonald's. Sorry.
no, it's totally right. Let's start with why did you start working with me? Like, why did you join my program?
I think, I mean, for me, it was when you and I were kind of chatting. I think it was at Grace's house, and you were telling me about all the work you were doing, and I kind of felt like that's exactly the type of thing that I need. I mean, I feel like I had done a lot of work in therapy, and that was really beneficial in one way, but I really needed to figure out like where I went from here and how the future looked. And just, it seemed like, why not give it a try? It was kind of like, I have really nothing to lose.
What were you struggling with at that time? Like, what were some of the challenges that were coming up for you?
I I mean, like I said, I had worked through a lot of other things in therapy, but I felt like everything was like just a little bit off. I feel like I was in a much better place, but I wasn't in like as good of a place as I could be. And I feel like things like, particularly like my career, my just like whole outlook on things like life, relationships, family, all of that was just kind of, it wasn't in a bad place, but I think like, I saw how happy you were, and I feel like that's kind of what I had wanted. And I just thought that it could be better.
What were you hoping to accomplish in our work together?
I don't want to say like I was hoping to figure it out, but I was hoping to figure out like how to reframe things, how to think about things differently, how to approach challenges and problems and situations differently, and how to really like understand and figure out what I wanted and then kind of like go after what I wanted.
Did you accomplish those things through the program or by the end of the program?
100%. I did.
What was your experience like? Like when going through the whole program, going through everything, what was it like?
Well, I will say, like, when I first decided to do it, I was kind of like, okay, like this could go one of two ways. Like, could be like a bunch of bullshit, or like it could be really great. And I just decided for myself, like the only way that I'm really gonna get something out of this is if I like go all in 100%, and just kind of like put, not hold back anything, not just try everything. Even if I feel like, oh, I don't really want to do that, like just decide that like I'm going to give it everything I have. And so I feel like every single time I like came to meet with you, that's kind of like how I framed, before I walked in, I was like, okay, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you don't want to think about all this stuff right now, like just give it like, go all in and give it 100%. So.
And by doing that, like how would you, like what did that allow you to experience, or what did that open up for you, or what was the process like?
Yeah, I feel like I was a lot more honest with myself. And I don't know, there's something about like going through all of the kind of like sessions that you have and like actually doing them, actually doing all the homework, because I feel like there is a scenario where I could have just like blown everything off and come back. And I feel like by actually like doing that work and having to think about those things and think through everything, it's like, I can't even explain it, but it was just incredibly helpful, and it changed my perspective. And I think like probably by the second or third time, maybe the third or fourth time that you and I met, I was like actually starting to feel like things were changing, So I was like, oh, okay, this is like a real thing. And I think that also gave me like a lot of energy and just like, I don't know, it was just a really positive thing that I think like propelled me forward. And it was just a great experience. Even though, I mean, it is challenging and uncomfortable at times.
What were some of the changes that you noticed?
I think like I was just able to be a lot more mindful of about things. I don't know, I was like very purposeful and still am very purposeful in my decision making. I feel like I know how to like understand myself better and what I want. And I think it was, I kind of always before this was really envious of people who kind of like had a passion or like were like, I was like born to do this. I kind of felt like I don't know what I was born to do. And I think, it might not be digital customer experience, but I think being able to kind of have the tools and understand how to work through that, it might be different things at different times in my life, but I really feel like I learned a lot about like how to know myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Can you share a little bit more specifically about how the program impacted the different areas in your life? So you can maybe start with career and then maybe talk about relationships with family or your romantic life or any of the rest of the pieces.
yeah, I mean, I feel like with career, I was really struggling because there were things about my current job that I really did not like. And I kind of felt like I need to change, but I don't know what to change to. I don't want to change just for the sake of changing. And then like in working with you and starting to list out all the things that I wanted in a job, I kind of read it and I was like, oh, this is just my current job. But I think that it was like I needed to make small tweaks and changes. And like even throughout that process, although I'm not actually like officially in my new job yet, I feel like I even like started to have an appreciation for my current job and started to understand like, oh, this is actually like really rewarding work for me. And just because there are things that I, would change and it's not like absolutely perfect, I don't really know what else I would rather be doing. And so I think, that process was incredibly helpful. And just even in doing that, like nothing changed about what, I didn't have a new job. I didn't like, I started like the process of doing that, but I think I just changed. And in doing that, I was able to be a lot happier and fulfilled in my career, like just kind of by reframing my view.
That's amazing.
Oh, and then relationships. I feel like this one took like, so like we didn't even really like, I don't even want to say crack this, but like really get to this until the end. And I feel like I mean, you and I just talked about this, but I just was so adamant that this was like romantic relationships were just like not a thing for me. And it just didn't even feel like, I don't know, anywhere near the realm of possibility. And I think this, more than anything, took a lot of kind of like coaxing and convincing and going through all of these different types of processes. And I think I like made progress for sure. But even by the end, I was not 100% convinced that this was in the cards. And then it was a few months later. And so but I do feel like had I not, I mean, I had said this to my boyfriend too, like if our exact situation would have happened a year earlier, like we would not be together. I just would have been completely closed off from any kind of relationship, like very much had a wall up, and just was like not open to that. And I didn't even realize it. So it definitely helped.
Why? Like, how did the program like help open you up, you think?
I feel like I like went through, I went through like where I, writing like where I wanted to be in 5 years, and that included a relationship. And then we started talking a lot about relationships towards the end. And it was kind of like, I started to think in my head, like, oh, well, maybe. And it wasn't even, I don't even know if it was like exclusive to romantic relationships, but I feel like just by doing this and getting to know myself better, and getting to be more mindful in my interactions with people, I just was more open in general to people. And so I feel like that's just kind of the energy that I was putting out there for going through all of this. And it doesn't even have to, it didn't even have to be just about romantic relationships, but just like even in my career, in like my interactions with friends and my interactions with my family, I feel like I just had a totally different approach that made me much more open in general. And so I think that kind of translated and, helped me, even though I wasn't 100%, I didn't 100% believe that it would happen still.
How did opening up impact your other relationships, your family relationships with your family, relationships with your friends?
I mean, I think that I definitely, it's kind of something that I can't even really explain, because I don't know, I just was able to like talk about things that I hadn't been able to talk about before. I think like I wanted to talk, like sometimes family situations are tough, and, I know a lot of people struggle with their families, and I do too. And I just like kind of started to focus on the positive and, enjoy, I don't live near my family, and enjoy the time we had together. And I think I approached it with like not even like a willingness to interact, but like a want to interact. And so I think that, like putting out that kind of energy, just, like when somebody's receiving that kind of positive energy, I think it makes them want to give positive energy back. And so I got a really good response from my family, and I felt like the same about my friends. Like a lot of people commented to me that they've kind of like noticed a change. And so I think it's just like the fact that I feel like I know myself, and I know what I want. And that was, I like kind of developed a confidence that I didn't have before. And so that was the energy that I was putting out. And I think it's just, like people gravitate towards that.
Totally. So you just mentioned that you developed a confidence that you didn't have before. Are there any other like specific changes like that you noticed that might have been inspired by the program?
I think I am like much more mindful, just about like my interactions, about like the talk track that I have going on in my head. And I just think that I'm much more able, like definitely since we finished, there have been periods where I've kind of been like, oh, this is, everything's falling apart and like all of that. But I feel like I've kind of been able to much more quickly reframe and like kind of get myself back on track. Even if it's not like, even through like all of this quarantine situation, like there have definitely been hard days, but I feel like kind of having those tools and knowing that like I can not fix the entire situation, but I can kind of like fix the way that I'm talking to myself, and that will make things a lot better.
That's awesome. What would you tell someone who is thinking about working with me or thinking about doing one of my programs, but isn't quite sure if they should?
I would say to keep an open mind, and if you decide to do it, then do it 100%. Like if you're going to kind of half-ass it, I don't know that it might be worth it, but I don't know that you're going to get the most that you could out of it. And just be like really, I think, open to possibilities, and to like, I think, we all think we know a lot about ourselves, but to learning new things about yourself, and to, I don't know, it just be hopeful, I think, is another thing I would say.
Who do you think would be like who's like the right kind of person, or like what kinds of people would you recommend this for? Or at what stage in your life?
Definitely right now for me. So like early 30s.
Yep.
I feel like people who are feeling just like a little bit unfulfilled and like things are not quite as good as they could be. I feel like this really helped me get from like good to great, which is maybe very cliche to say, or like the name of a book. But I feel like, yeah, I feel like it just really helped like exponentially improve like every single aspect of my life. And so I would say anybody who is kind of just struggling or feeling like things are not quite where they should be, whether that be in their career, in their relationships, with their families or anything like that. And they're just feeling like I could do better, like I could feel better and I could, have a better life.
That's awesome. Anything else that you want to share just about your experience in the program and how it's impacted you?
I mean, I would definitely, I would say that like there were parts of it that like, I don't know, like some of it was like a bit woo woo for me personally, but I feel like even that stuff, I was like, okay, just do this and do it 100%. And I really enjoyed it and found benefit from it. So I would really just say like, even if it doesn't at first seem like something you want to do or you would be into, just like try it. Because my experience was only positive, and I don't know that like that's something, I didn't like adapt every single thing into my life, but I feel like that experience definitely contributed to the positive outcome that I had or currently have.
Beautiful. And do you want to just give us like a quick update on like, if you feel comfortable, like the career trajectory of like where you were, like just like simply kind of explaining where you were career-wise and where you are career-wise now and how the program might have helped you get there?
Yeah. So I was, I guess, like or I guess technically still am, in a manager level position in a role that I like. And I think that I, at the time really didn't like though. And I, like, there were good things about it, but I was just feeling like, this is going nowhere kind of, and I'm going to get nothing out of this. This is like detrimental to my career, but I don't know what I want. And now I am still working at the same company, McDonald's, but I'm getting a role that I'm super excited about, and it's a promotion, and I'm getting a raise. And those are all the things that I asked for. So, yeah.
Beautiful. I think that's it. That's
Cool.
recording. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Melissa.